Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'll be doing my January wrap-up, and I really read a lot of books this month, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. First one I'll be talking about is an audiobook I listened to by John Scalzi called Lock In. In addition to that, I also read his prequel novella to this particular book called Unlocked. And I highly recommend if you're going to read Lock In that you read Unlocked first, because it'll definitely help you understand the story, which is sort of a sci-fi mystery thriller set in the not-too-distant future, and it's about people that suffer from a thing called Hayden syndrome, which as we come to learn in the prequel novella that is sort of from a very viral strain of the flu that developed into meningitis, killed some people, but some people went further into this syndrome, which they labeled Hayden syndrome, where you're locked into your body. You can't respond to stimulus, you can't move. And technology's kind of developed to help these people still be part of society. They developed things called threeps, where they're like robotic figures that they could put their consciousness into and move around in society. And some people, by this viral plague, their brain chemistry was sort of altered. And when they put some kind of technology within their brains, they can be used by the Hayden sufferers to put their consciousness into a human body and move around and interact with society and still feel and taste and touch and all these things. And what we have is a murder mystery in this book where an integrator is found with blood on his hands and a dead body at his feet. And you don't know if it's the integrator themselves that murdered somebody, if somebody was using his body at the time to murder somebody. And there's all these sorts of really glitches and things that that make the story really intriguing, because an integrator should be able to stop somebody from using their body in a way that they don't want. So you would think they'd be able to stop someone from murdering somebody else. So all these things are going on in the story. It made it really, really intriguing. Chris Shane's the main character. I found him fascinating. He's a new recruit to the FBI and is investigating this case. My only concern with this was that the time frame within this story is only like a few days. I think they rushed the story. They didn't need to make it within a few days. I didn't understand the purpose of that. It just seemed a little less plausible to it. But overall, both the novel and the prequel I gave 4 stars to, and I highly recommend them because they were very intriguing and very different. The next ebook I read was Kelly's Diary #5. This is by Thomas Jenner and Angeline Perkins. The cover's kind of dark, so I don't know if you'll be able to see that well. So far there are actually 6 ebooks in this series, up to number 5, and it's the story of a girl named Kelly. She writes in her diary about her experiences surviving a apocalypse, basically a zombie plague has kind of struck. She starts the diary when she's 14. At the time of this particular book, she's 16, and has faced some really gruesome situations. Separated from her family in the very beginning, and now, kind of linking up with various people along the way, some that are helpful to her, some that mean her harm. This particular volume was very challenging, very tough, deals with some really tough situations, some of them being human trafficking, drugs, and sex slavery. So not for the faint of heart or the younger readers, but is so realistic and so compelling, her story, that you just find yourself captivated and pulled along, and you just want to know what's going to happen next. And we're just praying that she'll sort of survive this series. Don't know where it's going to go, and I'm really anxious to read the next book. But I highly recommend it if you're into zombie kind of stories and a really compelling story. And I gave that 4 stars as well. On to the physical books. I finally got around to reading The End of Mr. Y by Scarlett Thomas. This was a book that I had in my goals for last year. Didn't get to it. Finally did. I loved it. It's adult kind of fiction. I gave it 5 stars. The best thing is to go in not knowing a whole lot about it, I think. All I knew about it was that it's about a cursed book that if you read it, you may die. Several people have in the past. Apparently, there's only one known copy locked in a German vault. And this one particular girl who's sort of doing a research paper about the author and things along the lines that the author wrote about, her name is Ariel. She stumbles across a copy in a used bookstore of all places and decides to read the cursed book. And where it goes from there, you'll have to find out by reading it. It was just amazing. The went places I didn't expect, but I found it fascinating. Her characters take some quite risky chances. I can talk. Besides actually reading the book. But yeah, it was fascinating. I really loved it. Highly recommend it. I also read Unhinged, which is book 2 in the Splintered series, and this is by A.G. Howard. Love the first book. It's sort of a retelling of Alice in Wonderland. We have Morpheus on the cover, and these covers are absolutely beautiful. Alyssa barely survived book 1, and she's sort of trying to distance herself from Wonderland and just live a normal life in the real world. But of course, Morpheus won't let that happen, and there's things going on with Wonderland. It's in danger of destruction, and so she's sort of torn between the two worlds within this book, and it's just absolutely fascinating. I can't wait for the final book in the series. I gave this one 5 stars. Next, I read 2 volumes in the Nisekoi False Love series. This is by Naoshi Komi. I read these for the BookTube Manga Club. I read Volume 2 and Volume 3. Just a really great romantic comedy kind of series. We learn of a new character, Tsugumi, in Volume 2, and you find revelations about that character in Volume 3 that are quite surprising. It's just super funny, really love it. I love the humor within the story and all the twists and romantic ties and not knowing who's who. It's just definitely really intriguing, and I can't wait to read the next ones of this. I love the characters and everything. So, yeah, I gave both of these 5 stars. I read Deck Z, The Titanic, Unsinkable Undead by Chris Pauls. I posted a review on this on my channel, so I'll go ahead and put a link to it down below. I gave this 5 stars, absolutely love it. I'm always interested in the Titanic, and I love zombie fiction, so the combination worked really well here. It was amazing. Definitely recommend this one. I picked up Volume 2 of Saga by Brian K. Vaughan. I wasn't ecstatic over the first one. It had a lot of hype, and I was really expecting a lot from it, and I wasn't too thrilled. It was okay. But I decided to go ahead and pick up 2 and see what I thought about it from there, and that completely changed my mind. I'm just hooked on Marco and Alana's story and their baby Hazel. I love all the characters in it. The artwork is fantastic. I can't wait to find out what happens with these characters. So I gave this one 4 stars. Then I read number 4 in the Tales from the Lovecraft Middle School by Charles Gilman. This is Substitute Creature. Again, we follow Robert, Glenn, and Karina, our main characters within the story, and they are still fighting Crawford Tillinghast and the host of all the crazy creatures that come in. And in this particular one, we meet the old ones, which are these goofy little characters here. And also we have Miss Carcass. Carcass, great name. Although she doesn't play all that big of a part in the book. Considering she is on the cover, I would have expected more from her. But some really interesting developments at the end. A bit of a cliffhanger. I can't wait to see kind of where that goes now. And I give this one 4 stars. Then the next 4 books were from part of the Underhyped Reads Readathon that I participated in. And these are all books that have kind of low ratings on Goodreads, either because people haven't heard about them. For the most part, I think they just aren't getting hyped, and then they just kind of slide under the radar. So the first one I picked was a graphic novel called Sheltered, a pre-apocalyptic tale. And all 4 of these books I have done reviews on, so I'll put links to them down below. I won't go into detail here, but I love the pre-apocalyptic part of this. It has about a town called Safe Haven, and they're planning for apocalypse that's due to come because of earthquakes in Yosemite possibly erupting, and the dangers involved with that. So lots of weird things happen. I don't want to go into details. You can see my review down below, but I gave this one overall 3 stars. One of my favorite reads during that readathon was Girl from the Well by Rin Chupeco. Again, I have a review for it. I'll post it down below. It's told from the point of view of a ghost, Okiku. That was really intriguing. The writing style, I just absolutely love the writing style. It just seemed just really beautifully done. I think some people might find it a little odd being told from the point of view of the ghost and the way she does it. It's not so much first person in some cases. Sometimes you feel like she's like a third person narrator. But I just found that really intriguing and captivated by the story. And yeah, I loved it. Gave it 5 stars. I read first book in a manga that I'd been curious about for some time. It's called The Drifting Classroom, and it's by Katsuo Umezu. This is the first in the, I think there's like 11 books in the series. It is sort of a horror manga about a school that there's like an earthquake and suddenly the school vanishes, and all that's left behind is this big hole in the ground. Again, I did a full review on this. Fascinating. I can't wait to read the rest. I will be showing the rest of them in a haul soon if this weather clears up and UPS can bring them, because I've been waiting for days. Anyway, overall I gave this one 4 stars. And then I also picked up Relax, I'm a Ninja by Natalie Whipple. I love this book. It's part of a series. I know the second book is out already, possibly a trilogy, but you have your basic martial arts kind of story in here, but there's also like a paranormal aspect to it. It's really weird. Again, check out my review on it, but I gave it 4 stars. Then I read a Doctor Who book. I've been sitting on these for quite some time. I've had them sitting on my shelves for years. This is Prisoner of the Daleks by Trevor Baxendale. And of course it features the 10th Doctor. It's a really good Doctor Who story, really good Dalek story. My one thought about it was that it's missing a companion. The Doctor's on his own in this one, and I miss the interaction between the Doctor and the companion. That's Doctor Who to me. He needs someone to kind of feed off of, besides just the people he encounters. And he does kind of encounter some mercenaries who battle the Daleks, and they find themselves, of course, captured by the Daleks and struggles against that and trying to stop them. They want to try and develop time travel and then go back and change history, which, of course, the Doctor can't allow. There's also a new character called Dalek X who is really fascinating. I love that kind of aspect of the story. But yeah, Missing Companion, for that I gave it 4 stars. And along the lines of Doctor Who, I finally finished Whoology. This is a official miscellany by Kevin Scott and Mark Wright. And what it is just a book of facts. And I've checked off several facts that I found really, really interesting. And I'll share some of those with you. Let's see. I just thought they're funny. I like the Who's Who, the 12 Doctors, and they give like a little synopsis of the Doctor themselves and the actor who played the parts of them. There's also like a Doctor family tree. There's reasons for leaving the Doctor I thought was pretty cool. Whether it was reasons of love, death, chance to go home, forced to leave, helping others, or in it stopped being fun. And that's referring to all the characters and why they went home. Returning monsters, so you have the Daleks and the Cybermen, and who returned the most, which, as you can imagine, the Daleks appeared in 22 stories. Cybermen were the close second with 14. This is fun for anybody who, like Doctor Who fan. Notable Time Lords I thought was pretty funny. Rassilon, Omega, and the final sentence on each one of these is like a description of the character. Completely bonkers. Omega, completely bonkers. The Master, completely bonkers, and then some. Just a great fun, for fans. Sisters by Raina Telgemeier. This is another one of her sort of autobiographical graphic novels about how when she was a kid she really wanted a sister, a friend and stuff to play with, and how that kind of backfires in a way because, sometimes sisters just don't get along. I do not, of course, know from personal experience because I have a brother. But anyway, it was just a lot of fun. I love the humor. I love the artwork. There's some cases where you see like these kind of yellowy or more pages. These are flashbacks to the earlier days, and then this is like more like her present time in terms of the storyline. But she flashes back to when her sister was much younger in the older pages. But I highly recommend her books. They are just great fun if you want to get into graphic novels. These are great ones to get into. Smile was the other more autobiographical one where drama is just a story. But lots of fun. Then I read Full Metal Alchemist, volumes 7, 8, and 9. Originally started this for the BookTube Manga Club, and I'm just kind of continuing with the story of Al and Ed, the Elric brothers. In this particular one, Al sort of gets some of his memory back, or flashes of his memory, what happened at the time where they were trying to use alchemy to bring their mother back to life, and things backfired, and his consciousness ends up like leaving his body, and his brother saves it in this suit of armor. But during that period of time, his mind kind of went blank, and it starts to kind of come back a little bit. They also learn the fate of one of their friends, and it was just very, very moving. I really enjoyed this series, and I picked up other volumes, so I can't wait to start reading those again. So I got 5 stars for this. And then I read House of Dark Shadows. This is a book I've had, again, for many, many years sitting on my shelf. It's by Robert Liparulo. It's part of a series. I think there's at least 5 books out. And it's about the King family. They move into a bizarre house that seems to be bigger on the inside, a bit like a TARDIS. And there's some passageways that lead to basically different places outside the home, almost different worlds, different times in some cases. The brothers, Xander and his younger brother, stumble upon these. He's a 15-year-old boy, and they stumble upon these passageways, and some are very dangerous. And his younger brother is a bit of adrenaline junkie, you might say. So even though his brother nearly dies in one of these, he's intrigued enough that he wants to try it himself, which is just crazy. But all the things that are kind of going on in this house, the mysterious footprints, the shadows where they think there's someone in the house. Why would you stay there? That was something that I had trouble with this particular story. That why would you put yourself and your family in such danger? dealing with this particular house. As intriguing as that whole concept of the house is, that just part didn't make sense. So for that, I gave it 3 stars. But I am kind of curious to see, what else happens with this house, and because of some revelations that we find out, I want to find out some closure to that as well. And I do have, I think, the 2nd, maybe 3rd book, so I'll probably be picking this up fairly soon. So 3 stars on that one. Then I read Through the Woods, and this is by Emily Carroll. Again, a graphic novel with these just beautiful kind of tricolor, I'd have to say. It's like mostly red, black, and blue and white, kind of couple darker ones. But it's really dark, creepy, ghost type stories. There's 5 individual stories within here. They're all kind of individual, but sort of dealing around like the woods and things. Fairy tale type. But I love them. I thought they were really good. Some cases, some of them seemed a bit unfinished to me, but overall it's still kind of, it had a really high creep factor for me. I think my favorite one was my friend Jana. Jana's a woman who pretends that she can speak to the dead, and her friend Yvonne kind of goes along with helping out in these seances and stuff, banging on the walls, moving things and stuff. But the thing is, Yvonne's the one who can really see dead people. So that whole little twist in there is pretty cool. But yeah, I gave it overall 4 stars. I'd given it 5 at first, but I kind of decided to downgrade it to 4. Then I read book 2 in a manga series called Ajin, Demi-Human, about humans, kids and stuff who kind of, they don't know they're demi-humans, which are people that can't die, until they die the first time. And our one character, this is where I get confused. There's Kei is like the main character, and his friend Kai. So is it Ki and K? I don't know. I still can't get that in my head. That's how I go. I go by Ki is the main character, K is his friend. Ki gets hit by a truck, and suddenly he comes to realize he's a demi-human, and he's on the run because people are trying to capture him, because there's like rewards for these people, and they were experimenting on him, and he doesn't want to be used in some experiment, so he's terrified and he's on the run, and his friend Kay kind of comes to the rescue and helps him out. But this one kind of, it has a bit of a prequel at the very end of the book called the Shinya Nakamura incident, which is apparently one of the first discoveries that demi-humans exist. So we find out that story and how they kind of came into being, or came to be known. That was kind of interesting. Key is sort of on his own. He's sort of, in this particular volume, left his friend because he doesn't want his friend to get hurt, and he's trying to see if there's a community or a group somewhere of other demi-humans where he can find out more about himself and what's going on, and hopefully find some help from everyone who's chasing after him. But this is a really great series. I love the artwork in this. It is super cool, dark, really bold lines, and really, I like the black. It's just, it's kind of gruesome in cases. It is definitely horror. I don't know if it's for mature readers. I don't think it's said anywhere, but it is definitely horror. And this is by Gamin Sakurai, if that's how you pronounce that. But I love the series so far. They're really thin, really quick reads, but very well made and everything, like high gloss paper and everything. And overall, I gave this one 5 stars. And then my ultimate favorite, one of my favorite reads this month, was a graphic novel I just sort of stumbled upon on Goodreads. It came up in my recommendation list, and I see it went in to place in the top 10 of the, they have these kind of awards, I forgot what they called them. There's some award thing, a yearly award thing on Goodreads, and I think it's a Choice Awards, and it placed in the top 10 for graphic novels. And it is called Tomboy by Liz Prince. And this is sort of a graphic memoir of her experiences growing up as a tomboy, something I could definitely relate to. All the challenges of dealing with gender stereotypes and rules of conformity, how a girl should behave, how a boy should behave, how they should dress. She deals with that like right at the very beginning where she's screaming because her mom is trying to put a dress on her. And from that point on, they never do again, because as she states, she feels like a boy in a girl's dress. She does not feel comfortable, does not feel natural to her. She's not gay or anything, it's just a case of this just feels like who she is. And I really, really enjoyed that whole aspect of it, how she stays true to herself. Unfortunately has to face a lot of bullying and teasing and things like that. But it was very fascinating. I think for people who are fans of Raina Telgemeier's graphic memoir style, they'll enjoy this as well. This is done in just really simple black and white line drawings, which I liked. She kind of deals with a lot of her difficulties through illustrations and doing these drawings when she was growing up as well. In fact, she ended up drawing for, I think it was like an online magazine. She wears this red baseball cap throughout. And I think towards the very back she mentions a book that she's given that, I think it's called A Definition, and it's by Ariel Schrag. And she said for the first time she found herself reflected in a book. Her own kind of being. And for me, it was within the pages of this book. I found it absolutely fascinating. I loved the storyline. I loved her story, and I gave this 5 stars. So that is my wrap-up. I think it ended up being something like 22 books. I don't know what happened. It was like every time I put down one book, I picked up another, or 2, or 3. But I enjoyed every one of them. I don't think there was really any big misses. I think the lowest rating was maybe House of Dark Shadows with 3 stars. But other than that, yeah, it was a great reading month, and I look forward to the current month. So thanks for watching. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and what you thought of them, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.